Buenos días, Marty. Buenos días.
Hola, buen día. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien.
Qué bueno.
Disfrutando de ese día de descanso porque estamos tan estresados en en la escuela.
Ajá.
Hay mucho más trabajo que el año pasado.
Wow. Mucho trabajo.
Mucho, Dios mío.
Sí.
Entonces, hoy estoy disfrutando de ese día que solo quiero quedar en la casa y hacer nada.
Qué bueno. Y yo me tengo que ir como a las 10:30 porque voy a llevar a mis papás
No
a...
se preocupe. Hoy la reunión es solo hasta las 10.
Ok, sí.
Después de las 10, si ustedes quieren estar en sus grupos, está bien, pero solo hay un speaker, entonces no tenemos tanto.
Sí, porque voy a llevar a mis papás al flu shot para que se tomen la free flu shot.
Flu shot, oh, ahí,
Ajá.
pero el sábado. Yo
No, va a
pensé que
ser,
era en donde Marty tiene su estudio, ¿no?
no, va a ser cerca de donde está el Asian District.
Hay una clínica
No, es un curbside, va a ser afuera,
y es de manera gratuita
¿sí? Es gratis.
y no
¿Tú
entiendo
estás en
por qué
Oklahoma?
En Texas no hay. No estoy en
No.
Dallas y acá lo tienen que pagar $20 lo mínimo.
Wow,
No vi que hay como de manera gratuita, pero bueno,
deberían.
sí, eso también lo
Tienes comida en tu labio.
hay.
Sí, está bien. Ya,
Ujú.
sí, hay varios lugares donde vamos a estar poniendo free flu shot. El 7 de noviembre vamos a tener una con el Consulado de Guatemala y en la iglesia de San Patricio.
Oh, wow. Pero sería un fin de semana porque,
Sí, va a ser un sábado.
porque la que ustedes hicieron la semana pasada fue durante la semana, ¿no?
Sí, eso lo organizó el cónsul y luego pues ya él invitó a Marty y al
Ujú.
Consulado de México y el Integris.
Bueno.
O sea, fueron diferentes organizaciones.
¿Y habían mucha gente?
En realidad no sabría decirte porque yo solamente fui como hora y media, pero yo pienso que sí hubo varias personas.
Ok.
Sí, quizás Marty, pues, como fue ahí con Marty, so me imagino que Marty debe saber cuánta gente fue. Que yo tuve que ir a ser voluntaria a la escuela de mi hija.
Yo vi también una foto. How many
Sí.
people attended, Marty? Do you know? You're muted. You're muted.
Estaba,
Ajá.
estaba aquí con mi teléfono. Mira, me dijo, buenos días.
Buenos días.
Espérate un momentico. Sí.
Días.
¿Estoy en la cámara o no? Es que yo
Sí,
no.
sí, estás en la cámara. Podemos
Me
ver.
dijo esta muchacha que
Ajá.
alrededor de 70 personas llegaron y les
Wow.
pareció que fue un buen turnout.
Good.
So,
Ujú.
sí, como 70 para lo de las flu shots. Y para lo otro, no es exactamente, no he hablado con Carmen Romo, porque allí estaban tocando ah, lo de la sangre, eh, ¿cómo es que llama eso? Colesterol y
Ujú.
así.
Pero si lo van a
Pero
hacer un sábado, creo que van a tener más personas, ¿no?
sí, lo que pasa me extrañó que era miércoles. Yo creo que no sé, bueno, no sé por qué fue
O
miércoles, pero está.
la próxima vez que hacen, si hacen un fin de semana, seguro que sí van a tener mucha más gente, ¿no?
Porque la gente me estaba preguntando que por qué no lo hacían, digamos, en la tarde, por la
O
gente que
en la
estaba
tarde.
trabajando.
Ajá.
The thing is that it's through Care Event Foundation, and they already have programs ahead of time, like they're already booked.
Oh, wow.
And usually since they work during the day, not in the afternoon, so there's no way they can do it in the afternoon. It has to be like before 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Usually it's during the morning. It's very hard for them to do it in the afternoon.
Y ya le mandé la información para lo del shelter también a esta muchacha. So, creo que
And
la van a hacer
I
en
think
noviembre
I see
ah,
Dustin, our speaker.
6 o 7. Ah,
Dustin, we're gonna wait just a few minutes, okay? Because we start at 9. So if you don't mind, if we could start at 9:05, we're still waiting for 10 other people to log in. So give it just a
Sometimes there are connection issues. It takes a few minutes that you don't anticipate.
No worries at all. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. This is John. How are you today?
Hi, John.
fantastic. Hi, John.
Hi, Akash. Hi, Amy. How are you today?
Wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's cold in Dallas today.
I know it's surprisingly very cold here, and I don't know about
Right.
in other parts of where our participants are. It is chilly. Dustin, where are you? Well, what part of the United States?
I'm in New York, so I woke up freezing. Totally agreed. Fall is here.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, New York is always like that, especially when fall comes early there.
Absolutely. The leaves are already gone, and I woke up to a breeze, so
Mhm.
happy fall is here.
Happy fall is here. So, Dustin, I'd like to introduce myself to you real quick. I am John Cal Conley, and I read your bio, and you do some work with UNA USA.
Yeah, so I'm currently serving as the U.S. Youth Observer to the United Nations, which is a role that is managed through UNA USA. It's
Okay.
changed over the years, but generally the role is to connect young people to the work of the UN.
That's really nice. Well, I am actually a part of the UNA USA. I am the advocacy chair on the board of the Dallas chapter of UNA USA. It's really nice. I really enjoy serving at UNA USA.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your leadership. It's a good group of folks around the
It is.
country. I know Akash is also involved in UNA USA, so we thank you all for helping support this network.
Well, thank you for all the work you're doing to make a difference in our world, and it's an honor to have you. So,
Oh my goodness, the honor's all mine. Great way to spend my Saturday morning.
thank you, sir.
I believe we are.
Sorry.
Thank you, John. No, nothing. John, please feel free. It's still, we're going to give folks 4 more minutes to log in. So,
Sure.
hi, Alina.
Okay, thank you.
And Alina, Melody, Renita is here. I think Wilson is here.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
Wilson's connecting.
Wilson's connecting.
Mhm.
I don't know. In the Southern Hemisphere, it's the onset of spring. So I think they're quite excited for their summers for folks like Gonzalo and Wilson.
Dustin, can I ask you a question before we get officially started?
Yeah, go ahead.
Slightly off topic. What is your heritage? Are you Vietnamese?
I'm Taiwanese.
Taiwanese?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure. You can be misleading sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. I'm the foreign language director in Dallas schools, and so I'm always interested in heritage and where names come from and where accents are. Sometimes if there's an accent, it's just a kind of a, like, I don't know if you want to say hobby, but an interest of
Yeah,
mine.
I appreciate it. Lou is really hard to place, so that's a good observation.
Were you born here?
I was born, in Flushing, but I spent part of my childhood in Taiwan.
Oh,
So
yeah? Really?
yeah, so back and forth.
Okay.
It's been nice.
And you're going to Harvard right now for grad school, right?
Right now, I went on leave. I was actually living in Malaysia until coronavirus hit, so I was on leave to do a fellowship, which then got upended, but going back in the spring to finish grad school.
I have a friend who graduated when I did in high school, got a degree in German, went to Harvard, degree in German. I went to a smaller college here, private college, degree in German. We both became German teachers. He's still a German teacher. And he celebrated last year. Now, we graduated high school in 82. Okay. Last year, he celebrated because he finally paid off his bachelor's student loan
Yeah,
from Harvard last year at 55 years old.
takes a bit of time.
Looks like we're getting close, Akash.
Yes,
One,
I mean that's outrageous, Amy. I just didn't know that how horrifying student loan situation could be in the United States.
well,
55 years old and still paying your student loan. Oh, good grief!
well, I just
Gotta
took
be-
out a new student loan for my doctorate. You know, I've got about $111,000 student loan, but
Wow,
the way we have it structured, and because I work in school, Title I schools, I pay for 10 years, like the certain amount, and I'm done whether I'm done or not. So I'm only going to end up paying about a third of it.
well, that's nice. So is that through a federal program that allows people to pay if you're in a
Yeah.
Title I school district,
Mhm.
and it waives off the remainder of your balance?
Yeah, but I can't pay it all at once. I have to pay for 10 years.
Well, that's nice. I mean, that's better, you know.
Well, I'd rather just my total what it's going to be. I'd rather just pay it than not have to worry about it for the next, 120 payments or whatever. But
What's your
That's all.
doctorate in, Amy?
Organizational leadership with emphasis in curriculum and instruction,
And where are you doing it at?
Grand Canyon University.
That's awesome.
Thank you. I'm close to defending. I've done my research. Actually, Akash was one of my researchees, my interviewees. I just have to write my chapter 4 with the data, write my chapter 5, and defend. That's where I am.
That's really wonderful. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. I was hoping by December, but COVID's pushing everything, making work to be so much different that I can't
Sure.
do other things. But certainly in a few months, we'll see. Akash, are we ready to start? I think we
Yes,
got.
it's 9:05. If you want to lead it, Amy, no worries. I mean, just briefly, you can introduce Dustin to our group, and
Well, let's do this together. First, I want to introduce the group somewhat to Mr. Liu. We are a group of young people, and some of us are not as young as others, but we're young in spirit for sure, who are global ambassadors. We want to be leaders. All the people here, they've applied for this program. And they have to do a project that is going to make the world a happier place in one way or another. And they're global-minded people who want to change the world, basically, or a small corner of it. And they're very excited today to have you to hear about your work. So I want to introduce the group to you. This is an amazing group of people here. We've got people who are close to my age. I'm not going to say exactly how old, but we're we're up there, and we've even got high school students like Edith's not here today, is she? No, and Alina. So a big range of people who want to learn from your experiences and from what you do. And I understand that there is at least one person here who's extremely interested in what you do specifically to possibly even follow in your footsteps. So, I mean, directly in them. So I've introduced the group a little bit to you, where we come from: Oklahoma, Texas, and abroad. And now I want Akash to introduce you to the group.
absolutely. So Dustin, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So I got to know Dustin through my UNA USA network, because I serve on the National Council at UNA USA starting this year, and Anna Mahalak, the youth manager at the UN Foundation, is somebody who I work with closely because I chair the education committee at UNA USA. And she introduced me to Dustin's work because Dustin is our incoming, or the 9th US Youth Observer to the United Nations. So he just really gets to shadow the United States mission at the UN and see what they do, and certainly champion for not just young voices, but for people all across the United States and their interests in supporting the United Nations. So, Dustin, it's such an honor to have you here. Just to add a little bit about what Amy mentioned about our Global Ambassadors Group, this is like an annual institute we host. Our graduates have created projects that have banned things such as dowry and kidnapped marriages in different countries. to folks who have worked on sanitation and peace pads for women in countries where it's quite a taboo for them to even speak about pads. So we also have groups here who are working on advocating for folks with disabilities. We have groups here like that just recently worked with the consulates of Guatemala and consulates of Mexico to run free flu shot clinics during this pandemic. So we have a wide range of interests in this group and a wide range of diversity in terms of talent, skills, uh, degrees, or just passions for what these people do. So we really hope to learn from you, like get inspired by your story on what you are doing. And certainly maybe if you could also enlighten them on a few ways that these folks could maybe get involved in some way or the other with our UNA USA or with other organizations locally. So we're here really today to hear your story, right from the story where you told Amy that you're from Taiwan. I mean, like your family's from Taiwan. You're not from Taiwan, but you're Taiwanese American. So we would love to hear all that story. So it's all yours now. If you would, I don't know, Dustin, if you're going to want to share your screen. Do you need that privilege to be able to share screen?
I think I'm good. I
Okay.
can describe my a little bit about my family story. Well, Akash and Amy, thank you so much for that introduction. And Akash, just as a time check, do we have until 10:30, just so I can keep my eye on the clock?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take your time.
Okay, cool. Absolutely. And I'll definitely leave some time if anyone has any inquiries at the end. Good morning from New York, everyone. I hope everyone's staying safe and taking care. Like Akash and Amy shared, my name is Dustin. He, his pronouns. I'm currently calling in from my childhood bedroom on Long Island, New York, which is both super disorienting, but also wonderfully grounding. And it's just been a wonderful time to reconnect with my family and really revisit the story that they had coming to America. So a little bit about my role first. Like Akash mentioned, I'm serving as the U.S. Youth Observer to the United Nations, which is a role that allows me to connect young people to the work of the UN in three main buckets. The first is to encourage youth participation in global issues. The second is to amplify the work that's already happening across the country. And this last piece that Akash mentioned was really pulling the curtain back on the UN and providing opportunities to humanize what can sometimes be a really inaccessible or confusing body. So that's sort of the work in three buckets that the US Youth Observer leads. It looks different every year, especially right now in a COVID context. I'm certainly spending a lot of time on Zoom. But overall, it's just been such a rewarding opportunity, and I'll be sure to talk a little bit about the work that we're currently working on. I always like to start with the story of my parents. My parents met in Taiwan in the late 80s. They came to America in pursuit of the American dream in the early 90s. My parents came to this country in pursuit of their education. They were seeking higher education and they wanted to see build a life for me and my brother. And I'm just so lucky to have two parents who truly believed in the opportunity, and the power of education. They came to this country and they settled in Queens, New York. And if you aren't aware, Queens is this beautiful microcosm that is one of the most linguistically diverse places in the world. And growing up in that community, being born in Flushing, it increased my proximity to the global community in so many ways. I remember growing up, I cared what happened in Greece because my best friend's grandmother lived in Greece. And when Tara's grandma was having a bad day, Tara was having a bad day. And when Tara was having a bad day, I was having a bad day. So that interconnection just was so salient to me. And on top of that, growing up in an immigrant community and understanding that, there was a world outside of my bubble, with video calls that I had to my grandparents every morning. I'd sit on my mom's lap and we bought a webcam just to beam into our living room in Taiwan, and just understanding that, there was a world outside of our context really expanded my understanding of global citizenship from a young age. I always like to share that, my mom is like my superhero. She, is a social innovator. She's a community organizer. And from a young age, I always like to say that I was her intern. She spent my childhood helping elders in our community learn English, helping elders in our community gain citizenship in this country. And through that process, I became so inspired by individual actions contributing to larger goals. I'll never forget the moments that I had in her office and having these elders, these grandparents come in and tell her at 75, 76 that they achieved citizenship, and their entire sense of self and dignity, completely shifted. And stories like that made me feel Like I needed to build these these change maker capacities to increase my ability to make change, just like my mother did for so many people on the island. In second grade, I always like to share that this was a turning point. My teacher asked the class, you know, what would you do if the cure for cancer was in the mind of a girl who didn't have access to education? And in that moment, it really didn't make sense to me. I think from a naive angle, it just didn't make sense why people didn't have access to education. And it was an odd moment for me to feel as though I was so connected to the global community because of my proximity, but it was a very focused lens. It was Asian Americans in a specific context. And I realized, you know, you don't know what you don't know. I remember going home that day and crying to my mom for an hour or two. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people don't have access to education. What would be, you know, what would the world look like if we all truly had our ability to be at our fullest potential? And like a wonderful mother that she is, she asked me what role I was going to play to close that gap. And from that point, I've often tried to find ways in which I could bridge the experience and learning I was having with my mom being an intern across the island, working in immigrant communities, and the gaps that I was noticing in school. When I was in middle school and high school, I started getting more engaged and trying to figure out, you know, what gives me energy? What role do I play in this movement? I started as a student activist coordinator for Amnesty International early on in middle school and high school. And through that role, I started to be a large participant in grassroots organizing and digital organizing, specifically in the youth space. When I entered high school, I started to understand you know, there was this image of what a youth leader looked like. There was an image of what a youth activist looked like. And it was not something that I was particularly good or comfortable at. While I felt as though I needed to go through the motions, I was getting engaged in a variety of grassroots organizing activities. It wasn't until high school when I started to understand ways in which I could tie my interests and study my interests in a more applied way. So in high school, I was heavily involved in student government. I was involved in a variety of different student groups. And I just kept asking myself, you know, there's something missing. There's something missing in my ability to understand these issues. And I wanted more. So I pursued my degree in college in industrial and labor relations. I focused it on, you know, social movements, labor movements, and specifically solidarity and coalition building. And through that work, you know, I had an opportunity to visit and do community engaged work around the world. I ended up going to rural China to study migrant communities and migrant education systems. I went to a rural tribal system in southern India, spending quite a bit of time working on technology integration, doing ethnographic research in Israel, heading to Taiwan, back to my own home village and taking classmates with me. It became an overwhelming experience where I realized the distance that I assumed between myself and others was just simply wrong. In so many ways, those experiences humanized and made me understand the power that we have when we sit and understand and see others as more alike than different. And I wanted to bring that experience to classrooms. I thought it was so sad that I spent so much time in such a diverse community thinking that I understood the world, thinking that I understood narratives, but never really having an opportunity to fully immerse myself or empathize with humility another person's experience. That led to the creation of the Global Community Architect Initiative, which is a project that I've been working on with educators across the world, thinking about ways in which we can create asset-based, project-based learning activities. What we do is we partner schools together to undergo a cultural exchange. And that cultural exchange is not necessarily, you know, one-way street. We truly believe in the power of of community engagement across borders. So to just give you an example of what we've worked on, you know, this past year, we matched a school in Long Island, New York with a school in Southern India, and they both created a day in the life video. And just, you know, through student leadership, they were able to create these videos that emphasized, you know, what a day in the world, what a day in the life looked like for a particular student. And students had had an opportunity to step back. It wasn't esoteric anymore. There was a human behind these statistics and these stories that we were reading. And there was a true connection that was formed in terms of that project-based perspective. And I'm happy to report that in both situations, those videos are currently integrated into the curriculum of those schools. So it's just a wonderful experience for me to understand how we need to be intentional about our ability to engage. And we need to be intentional about the ways in which we create opportunities for young people to be exposed to difference. It was also in college that I started to question and really find excitement in the critical time that students go to college. From a theoretical standpoint, it's an opportunity of crisis, it's an opportunity of exploration, and it's such a critical time where we can help students gain the skills that they need to engage across difference, right? Gain the skills of dialogue, understand difference, and respect that there are goals that we need to build better together. And it was at this time that I came across the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And in so many ways, it has become a North Star. What I always like to share is that the UN SDGs seem to follow me everywhere I go. I was teaching in a classroom in southern India, a tribal school, 40 miles outside of Mysore in Karnataka, and the UN SDGs were on the wall. And I remember asking the teacher, like, how did that get here? And he said, well, these are the ones, if we don't keep these in mind, how are we ever going to meet them? I was teaching, just earlier this year in a rural village in Malaysia, and the UN SDGs once again were on the wall, and I thought, this is crazy. And I asked the teacher once again, how does that fit into your curriculum? How does that show up? She said, if we don't focus on these, how are we ever going to meet them? And it's this incredibly humbling experience to understand that the role of the UN and the power of the SDGs is to serve as an agenda setter and to serve as inspiration and starting points for young people to truly advocate towards these goals. So I'm currently a graduate student in a higher education program. I'm getting my master's in education, but I specifically focus on ways in which we can engage across difference and the ways in which we can curate experiences where we can disrupt the power dynamics and assumptions that we assume about the other. With my role at the U.S. Youth Observer position, over the past 3 months, I've been undergoing a really extensive coordinated listening tour, talking to young people across the country about issues that they care about, how they want to be engaged with the UN, how they have already been engaged in these issues. And it has been just so humbling to have these insights about how young people want to be engaged. And I'd love to share with you just 2 or 3 insights that we've gleaned so far. The first is that we need to validate all forms of youth leadership. It is so difficult and paralyzing for young people to see icons like Malala or Greta Thunberg and feel as though they have to reach that level of activism or that level of exposure in order to be considered part of the movement. In so many cases, young people have said it just sometimes feels too difficult to get started, to start an organization, and the opportunity to reframe youth leadership is ripe. So as much as possible, I like to share with as many folks and as many audiences, we really need to re-envision what we consider a youth leader and give folks the tools to scaffold their capacity to make change. Another thing that we've discovered is that young people have such deep understanding of global issues. We held a focus group in Jackson County, Oregon, and it was right after they were impacted by the forest fires that have been ravaging the West Coast. And there was a particular focus group that we held where a young person shared, climate change is often described in statistics, global warming, greenhouse gases. But he said, it's not that difficult to understand. You don't need a PhD to understand climate change when my entire community is burned to ashes. It is not difficult to understand these global issues when I am living the impacts of them every day. And it's within those moments I've started to understand and unpack the power that young people have to build their advocacy around their own narratives and to honor the wisdom that young people are bringing to this moment. And maybe a last piece that we've seen as an absolute theme that I'd love to share with this group is the importance of adult allyship, the importance of institutional commitments, and the importance of being part of communities of social change. Change making can be incredibly difficult. We know this, we've seen burnout, and it's been interesting for us to consider how to decrease the paralysis that we feel in this moment with all the headlines, with all the statistics, with everything that we're dealing with in terms of the pandemic. There's so much in this world right now that can feel so paralyzing. When we talk to young people about how you push through those moments of paralysis, they always talk about mentors. They always talk about a second grade teacher. They always talk about someone who they've met. They always talk about teachers or educators or just adults in their life that believe in the fact that they can change the world. And they talk about communities of social change. They talk about having folks that they can go to when they feel paralyzed to get unstuck. And they talk about the ability to have belief together and the importance of having that community of social change. And I think the UN SDGs provide such a wonderful framework to do this. They provide, an opportunity for young people locally to feel as though they're pushing forward a global agenda. And I've heard time and time again that feeling of solidarity and that feeling of coalition building worldwide is something that is just so powerful for not only mental well-being, but sustainable futures that we hope to build together. So that's a little bit about myself, a little bit about my role. I'm happy to, answer any questions that folks have or delve into any other part of what I've shared. Akash, can I turn it back over to you or anyone else who'd like to?
Absolutely. I'm sure they're going to have lots of questions or discussion. And, just to start us off, a couple things that I realized, where our paths overlap. You're an educator, or I'm an educator, Amy, Hilda, we're all educators. And one of our programs at our nonprofit is called the Global Connect program. And we have like 1,200 volunteers from 150 countries. And some of them are right here with us, like some of those volunteers. We've got Melody, who's connected with classrooms in Mexico. We've got Jima, who is connected with preschools in Argentina. We've got Jerry, who's connected with classrooms in Florida. Gonzalo, who's connected literally with classrooms all over the globe, teaching them that global citizenship or bridging that gap in fostering that cross-cultural dialogue or citizen-to-citizen diplomacy. So it's incredible that you mentioned that, because one of our pillars at our nonprofit is promoting global citizenship and fighting bigotry and prejudice through anti-bias education. So we do it through multilingual experiences, through mystery hangouts, where somebody like Gonzalo would join a classroom in Florida or Wyoming and just talk to them for 20 minutes, and the kids would have a map in front of them. They would have to ask them questions to find out where this person's from. And then they engage in a dialogue. Like somebody like Marty Rickman, she's a leader in Oklahoma. She last week connected with students in Argentina at a university, teaching them different folkloric dances from her country, which is Colombia. So it's beautiful that you mentioned that. And I'm trying to think what is the second thing that we certainly overlapped. You said it's so difficult for folks, young folks, to start organizations. So our nonprofit, we also have another program called the Happy Nonprofit Clinic. We provide pro bono services to any nonprofit leader to start their own nonprofit organization. So right from the steps of registering the organization with the state, whether it's the state of Florida, California, Oklahoma, Texas, anyone, to getting exempt status with IRS. Like we offer it 100% free. So that helps these nonprofit leaders save a significant amount of money towards attorney fees and dedicated towards community projects. So if you ever feel like there's something we could collaborate on and work together, or if you ever during your listening tour come across people who are like, hey, I do have ideas and I want to start a nonprofit, but I don't know where to start, please send them our way. We'll be happy to help and create everything for them at no cost. So those were two of my observations, and certainly I want to thank you and commend you for just the dynamism you bring to our group, and for being a great listener, because I can tell that just being through your listening experiences, you can share the wealth of experiences that you have to share with us today. So I sincerely appreciate that, and I'm sure our audience has questions and they want to engage in a conversation with you. So
thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you folks are leading.
Chime in.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You mesmerized me. I was just like, are you reading this, or is this all in your head? And I'm thinking, you can't be, I didn't ask your age, but you can't be more than about 25-ish, a little less, or probably. How in the world have you done all this at less than half my age when I haven't done anywhere near that much? And my question though is, like you said, I was doing this, and then 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 I was doing this. And I was like, how does all this come to you? And And then the second question is kind of related. How does someone maybe on our panel that likes what, who like you, I like this focus and this focus and this focus, but it, has an all encompassing kind of theme around it. How do they focus in? How can, and is that, do you think it's a wise thing to focus on? I can't change the world here, 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 or here, but I can change it here in this little thing. What advice do you have for our people on the panel to focus in, or should they go broad? And how did you come to those conclusions? If that makes any sense.
No, that absolutely makes sense. I'll start with the second question first, and thank you for that, those kind words. The second question is something that I'm grappling with myself when I talk to young people when they say, I'm a climate activist. And it's really interesting how we often feel as though we need to label our interests, when really we're building towards a better world. And I actually find that young people have shared time and time again, hey, I want to be an intersectional advocate. I want to see the intersections between the SDGs. Why do I need to pin myself to a particular SDG? And time and time again, we have conversations about the ability and the strength and able to see across, different disciplines and different topics of change. So one, I would say, the advice that I give to young people when we talk is the importance of seeing yourself as flexible. The world changes. And it's really interesting when I talk to young people who burn out. Oftentimes, it's not that they don't care about the issue anymore. It's that something else has emerged that is taking away their energy. And how do we shift our energy so that we're still in the fight pushing towards these goals, but not necessarily on the same topic? So the flexibility in terms of your interest, I think, is incredibly important. The first end is that my mentor in high school told me, in your 20s, Dustin, never pin yourself down. She said, never commit to something that you can sit on for more than 2 years. And I've taken that so to heart. I think I've been so lucky to have experiences that have opened other experiences. I consider my time abroad and my community engaged work and my connections to international communities a core component of why I'm in this role now. And I think it's been interesting for me to really self-examine and revisit my personal narrative. I often try to dispute the myth of a straight line life. Like I think, it's just simply not true. My life is in spirals. I feel like I'm on spiral 4. And nothing makes sense until I'm there and I look back. So taking an opportunity to examine your personal narrative for young people and really trying to think about how your advocacy can be built around your narrative not only brings energy to the moment, but I think allows for a deeper level of explanation that makes it almost I feel like I'm flying when I'm, because using my narrative as a map for my own advocacy.
Love that. Thank you. Wow.
Dustin, my admiration for all the things you have done. I have two questions. What are the plans for your future? And how do you motivate youth? Like, for example, I know so many youths here because I work with them, but I noticed that they only concentrate in going to school or working. But I feel like we need more youths, and not only youths, also adults. We need these people to be more aware of what's going on in the world. There's youths that I feel like they're only wasting their time. I mean, not wasting their time, but just school, and that's it. But I wish we could have more youths in Oklahoma promoting education, arts, activism. So I feel like I don't know what else to do, because sometimes I invite these kids to go volunteer for some events, to participate in workshops, to participate in leadership class, but I don't know how to get them. So can you give us an advice?
I think two things come to mind. The first is that the capacity to make change truly grows over time. And we've heard time and time again, it can't just be one event. It can't be a one-off event. It needs to be a journey. And it needs to be a scaffolded journey where you have consistent mentors throughout that journey. I think as soon as young people feel as though they have a partner and they have someone who is keeping them accountable and supporting them if they fall, that makes a world's difference. And I think something that's been really powerful in these workshops that we've been holding is asking young people to start today, start now. I think oftentimes life can get so busy, but the taste or the, the appeal of change making comes when you do something, when you start, no matter how small, and asking young people to find tangible ways in which they can make a difference that day. And I think that's been really helpful when we go back and talk to young people to start that momentum and start that capacity building that is just so important, especially right now. The second piece that I'll say is that when we've been working with young people, I'll share a quick story of a second grade classroom that we've been working with. We asked the second graders to draw, what they hope to see in the world. And there was a young girl, Shivani, who is age 6, and she drew a picture of everyone holding hands around the globe, singing and happy. And I was like, how are you going to make this happen? And she said with such clarity and courage, she looked at me like I was crazy. Like I asked the stupidest question ever. She was like, well, I'm just going to make sure everyone in my life is kind. And that's going to make us, a better, kinder world. And the clarity, the confidence, and the cogency by which she was able to say that astounded me. And since then, I've often thought about, how do we unleash and how do we unlock or restore that imagination or that sense of enthusiasm we have when we're in first grade, when we're in kindergarten, when we're able to tinker and imagine a better world. And to be honest, that's what we're targeting. We find time and time again that young people have been told, no, you can't, that's not possible, that's too hard. And that weighs down and extinguishes the flame that we need to spark again. So as much as possible, we've been trying to think about how we can reimagine the way in which we engage young people to restore that sense of youthful imagination that is just so important, especially when we think about these complex global goals.
Thank you. And what are the plans for your future besides all the things you are already done?
I going off of my mentor's advice, I don't like to plan more than 2 years in advance. Like I try to sprint, and then I often take 2 months to just integrate. I think in a lot of the work, I feel very fragmented. So in May, it'll be an integration moment where I'll take a few months to truly understand and revisit what feels right and what makes me feel like I'm flying. So I'll keep you posted though. I don't know.
Please. Thank you.
And Dustin, right there, I have a follow-up question. I know, Marty, you want to go right after. Just a quick follow-up question. You mentioned mentors, uh, working in Title I schools across the country, I realized that there is a significant gap. Like somebody like you and I have easier access to a mentor than a student in a inner city school. How do we help bridge that gap? I mean, I'm still working on that goal. Like with some of the volunteers we try to connect them, but how do we bridge that goal? Not everybody gets lucky in having a mentor that helps them get to some of the places they want to get to in their lives.
Mm. The hardest thing to scale is authentic human connection, right? I think about all these tools and all these technologies that are hoping to push forward workforce development and social emotional well-being, but the hardest thing to replace is the authentic relationship that you have being with another person. And I think what's been really powerful for young people is to understand that mentorship can come in different forms and it can come from different people. When I talk to young people who often feel as though they don't have a mentor, I ask them to think about an opportunity or an experience they had where they felt deep, genuine connection and what made that possible. And I've often found that mentorship goes beyond the advice that one is giving, but it's to feel as though you're being supported and to feel as though you're connected to another person and that they care. And I think oftentimes, I'm so grateful that this is a fact. Young people do have that in their life, whether it's from a peer, whether it's from a parent, a caretaker, whether it's from a family member. That authentic connection and asking them what made that possible helps them replicate those conditions and encourage greater access to that sense of belonging that is so critical to young change makers. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I think it helps reframe what a mentorship can look like and how we can truly encourage young people to think critically about authentic connection.
We can open up the floor to anyone Gonzalo.
Um,
Oh, Marty,
okay.
Marty
But
was.
I believe that Martin had a question.
Marty.
No,
Marty had a question.
hello, hi,
Hi,
Dustin.
Marty.
I just observation or want to say something. I just, of course, Cash, I'm forever grateful that things you have done for me and for the community. I love that you bring people like Dustin for us to meet and all the people that you have brought into our lives. But I was reading something about what you said, Dustin, but it says, I strongly believe that it's through active participation in social change efforts that our capacity to make change develops. And I like this, every individual has gifts and strengths that can push us towards the UN's SDGs. Sometimes, and of course I'm talking about me, people, we have our strengths, we have what we have. And me, I feel like I wish I could do more, right? I wish I was a little more, or like, I'm a lot older than you, but I wish I had that opportunity or the will or something to go to school and have done things that you have done. But it's never too late. But what I do, and I feel like a couple of years ago, I went to a school and was teaching a dance, cumbia from Colombia. And it's amazing. This little girl came up to me. There was a picture. It was a profile picture because I thought, oh my God, I didn't know that people look at you that way. I don't know. So I'm not really doing really anything. But she looked at me and she said, I want to be like you when I grow up. And I was like, oh my God, really? So there are some things, and I'm sure people look at you and the kids, and I think we need to be careful the things that we do and say, and it's important. And every one of us have gifts and things that we can give, and kids especially look at you in a certain way, and the hope is in a positive way that you give. But thank you for
Thank you,
being
Marty.
with us, and I learned so much. Of course, I'm a lot older, but I learned from young people, and it's always nice to have that in our lives. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think dance
And
is
I
so
just want to
powerful.
say, I'm sure I have some question. I know that you're wonderful. I was reading and I was like, wow, I want to be like you.
Marty, well, I so appreciate that. I think dance is so important when we're not in a pandemic. I'm a Zumba instructor, so I spend a lot
Oh,
of
you are?
yeah.
Oh, I am too.
Really. But it's this wonderful community building that comes in the
Yes,
room, right? And I
yes.
think that there is such value in that. So you definitely are
Thank
making such a difference. So thank you for your leadership.
thank you. Mhm.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Well, I couldn't get in the first few minutes. I had some problems with connectivity. And well, I am a teacher and I'm from Argentina. And I can't believe that I'm taking part in this experience. It's like I just look at the screen and I see so many great people, and I have been following each of them on Facebook and see so many great things that they have been doing. Each of them, it's amazing. Each of them, and it doesn't matter the age. Each one here has done great things, and now we have the chance to be with you, Dustin, and to share with you something that I wouldn't have thought of just a couple of months ago. And so I have been learning from all of them, and I'm really honored. And it's amazing what you said. I'm a teacher, but there are a lot of things that I'm still learning, and that's what I believe that I had to do for my whole life. And lately, I have, for instance, I have been called mentor by one of my colleagues, and when she sent me a message and said, "Okay, you're my mentor," I said, "How come? How did that happen?" And she said, "Because you share, because you always send positive messages, because you always share opportunities for us to grow." And I said, "Okay." And I was so grateful because I've been asked who my mentor was and or has been, and I couldn't give a concrete answer. So there are two colleagues of mine who called me that there was their mentor. I said, gosh, I can't I can't be that one. You must be wrong. And but now we start to think about words that you said, such as spark or collision, or thinking about working together. I believe that now education has been somehow, it's like the whole world has been stopped and we have to rethink things again and redo whatever we have been doing. We have to do it in a different way. And your experience that you have been sharing has given me lots of ideas, or at least, again, sparking imagination and creativity, at least to me, and I'm sure for all of us. You share what motivates you. You share what has been those big questions that change you, the way you were seeing the world, and that's what I really appreciate about what you shared. It's like we shouldn't be afraid of making big questions to kids, and that's what I like about what you shared. It's like so I believe that that's probably the way that education should go nowadays. Asking big questions and not be afraid to give answers, even though they might sound like magic answers, like creating, I don't know, some sort of kindness machine, I don't know, but it's just sparking imagination, and then we can go on from them. Because what that second grader shared with you, that she will try to make people kind around her, and now we changed everything. I took lots of notes. I jotted down lots of things while you were speaking. That's why probably I look kind of weird while you were talking, because I was writing and at the same time while you were talking, almost transcribing what you said. So I don't know, Dustin. I'm really grateful, and there is something that you shared about doing many things at the same time. I've been reading about multitasking in slow motion. I heard that it's like trying to keep different boxes with different projects and try to separating things and putting whatever I want to do with this project to put in that box, and then later. So somehow we do multitasking, but in a very slow pace, or in slower pace. That's the way I've been starting to think lately, because I have like lots of things in my mind, working from home and working with other teachers. So just wanted to share that.
Well, thank you so much.
So thank you from, I don't know, from my heart, from Argentina.
Absolutely,
you a
received
lot.
in New York. Just to go off of that, I had a mentor of mine recently share with me a quote that she heard, and she said, "If you're over 45 and you don't have an under 30 mentor, not mentee, mentor, then you're going to miss the fundamental shifts in thinking that are happening." And I feel the same way about second graders, right? Like even as so Amy, I'm 22, not to date myself, but like I feel like I need to I try to spend as much as time with 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds as possible, because I'm missing fundamental shifts in thinking, or lose my ability to imagine if I don't. So it just completely resonates with me, and your mentee is lucky to have you as a mentor.
Hello.
Hi,
My
Melody.
name is Melody, and I'm from Oklahoma City. So I'm an artist, and I'm working with Marty and Hilda and a few of our other people on our group, and we're doing a like a community project. And I'm doing things like teaching English to Spanish and Spanish to English. But I'm also doing a global heart project. I call it a heart project. I want to use my art to teach like enrichment programs through, globally. So I saw like a lot of the things that you were saying were really, clicking with my mind about also having, a mentorship type program. So I would love to talk to you like more, because I see like a lot of the ideas that I'm doing specifically would really help me build a more dynamic, kind of like art foundation. Or it's not so much an art foundation as it is using art as a way to incorporate the things that we need to mentor children in. Because for one thing, art is like healing, right? It helps them think outside the box. It helps them see things from another perspective. Just the fundamental teachings of art is basically, you know, they're basically you can say it all in an art program, because I mean, it's basically the same thing. You know, teaching art and teaching all of these cultural things, all of the things we want to do, we can do it in our art program, in my opinion. So, and like if you research like any artist, the things they say about their art are the same things that we're trying to teach through, you know, through these programs. But so I was just, I have some of the same dreams and goals with my art program. So I hope that, you know, I can talk to you further. Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally welcome it.
And get some better ideas about how I can incorporate a good like mentorship program globally, you know, even locally, but you know, I would love for it to be like, I'm in the middle of a project right now where I'll do these art projects, and then I'll have like an art exhibit, and they have to showcase their art, and then I can put them on my website, right? And then I have like 4 different classes where I have that, so that gives me an opportunity, and they're free, so, but it gives me that opportunity to mentor them through this. But yeah, any help is appreciated.
Absolutely. Happy to
So, I
connect.
just love everything that you said. It's a total mind of an entrepreneur. So like, that's exactly what an entrepreneur is like. You know, you're not boxing yourself in, like, you know, I know some of the things I've done, I didn't know how to do it. I just had this idea like, oh, I'm going to do this. And I don't have any idea how I'm going to really actually do this thing. I just start doing it, and then it just happens along the way. So that's what sort of makes me think of how your life was. You know, you just have a dream and you follow your heart, and that's beautiful. So I appreciate, you know, you're sharing your heart like that. So it's cool.
Thanks so
Sorry.
much. Looking
Nice
forward
to-
to connecting.
Okay.
My name is John. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
Hi, John. We can hear you.
Yes, thanks, Dustin. I first want to tell you how grateful I am to hear your story. And I just want to also let you know that after hearing your story, and as I was reflecting upon my story and my experiences, they kind of intersect together, because I am really passionate about immigration issues and human rights. And throughout my academic career, my undergraduate and master's degrees, I have really dedicated my life to this kind of education and being able to teach people about overcoming unconscious bias. And I believe that more people need to be educated about this. I believe that it's very important to be able to see a different angle from a diverse perspective.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you, thinking about those topics, and the way in which you're able to draw the themes between your interests. Sounds like it's a powerful, powerful plan of success.
Thank you. Yes, it really resonates with me a lot.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Alina McSpadden. I am a senior at Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts. So first off, I'd just like to thank you so much for the time you've taken today to speak with us. And I just want to also say that I'm so interested in what you do and what you've accomplished so far at such a young age, 22, wow. Like that's so young, and that's so amazing that you've accomplished so much and had a taste in like so many different realms of life. And I absolutely love how you were also part of Fulbright. So I did notice you were part of Fulbright when you went to Malaysia to teach English to students. And I was also a part of a State Department scholarship, CBYX, Congress Buenos Aires Youth Exchange, where we serve as young political and social justice ambassadors of the U.S. And from personally being a part of like different types of services such as Coffee International in my host town, to bringing in refugees and the Native people together, to organizing youth events to bring youth together in a community. Just really, I learned so much about the world and gained a love for global issues and learning about different cultural differences and languages. And I just really want to know, how did Fulbright help you as a launching pad into your career, and what are the steps you took to get to where you are now?
Well, Lena, we can talk at nauseum about Fulbright, so I'm happy to offline. So the way I'll take your question is actually what I took away from Fulbright and what I took away from some of the programs that I've been a part of. I realized that these well-structured, well-funded, well-supported programs have such high barriers of entry. I think it's so interesting that the most formative experiences that people share about had a 1% to 2% acceptance rate, or were incredibly hard to get. So I think that was my takeaway, understanding that this was such a beautiful experience, but I was here because of privileges that I had. I was here because of certain opportunities that I've already had, and it just didn't feel right. So I'll say that programs like Fulbright, programs that I've been through, have honestly expanded my understanding of how closely we guard the resources that should be democratized to more young people. So that's my takeaway. In terms of the Fulbright logistics, we can talk at nauseam. I'm happy to just jump online and chat more about it. But it was a beautiful experience where I had an opportunity to be funded, to be supported, to be in a community engaged setting, to work on issues that I cared about. It gave me some of my deepest mentors that I still talk to all the time in Malaysia. But it was just troubling for me to understand that that wasn't available to more folks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Hi, Dustin. My name is Jerry. Obviously, with everything that you've done, you've mentioned yourself, you get this point in life after every 2 years where you kind of just take a little bit of time for yourself, just to kind of reflect. That's what you've been going on through and what you've been working for, and seeing if that's where you want to head. What would you say in regards to like your mental health, like self-care and all that good stuff, trying to keep maintenance, because it's easy, or it's tough to go out there, especially with the issues that you're trying to like make better and everything. There's a lot that goes into all of that, I guess trauma in a sense, but what would you say you kind of do to kind of ground yourself and keep yourself, going?
Jerry, I think that's a great question that I'm still grappling with, but something that I've developed as a skill is to communicate my needs. I think whenever I join a group, whenever I join a longer term commitment, I say, hey, if you see me do this, I'm probably super stressed and I'm probably about to burn out. I've actually written a how to use Dustin guide, like a user manual that I send to all my supervisors and folks that I organize with. And in it like describes how I react to certain things, how I like to be complimented, how I want to give compliments, how I give appreciation. But there's also a large section in there about how to deal with Dustin when he's stressed out. So I actually think being very self-examined and writing down specifically how you can manage or reflect on those circumstances and how you can ask others in your community to look out for that is really important. I mean, when I think about the ecosystem of social change, I think that a strong part of that ecosystem are healers. They're people who stop me and say, hey, Dustin, how are you feeling? Like, is there anything that I can do to support you? Hey, Dustin, I see that you're taking on a lot. What can I do to support you in this moment? And I actually find those relationships to be so powerful in checking myself, because oftentimes we don't see that we're burning out until we do. And I think it's much more visible to those that know as well. So surrounding myself with people that know the signs, being very transparent about my own conditions and my own signs, and literally sending my user manual to people that I work with have really helped in terms of managing those mental health challenges that may arise based on the, sometimes difficult or paralyzing work.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Hi, Dustin. I'm
Hi.
Hilma Kranz. Well, I don't have question. I want to say I admire you. You are different in this world. I love to hear positive thing in the life. You are different in this world.
Thank you so much. I feel the same way about everyone in this group. I'm just so inspired by the work that you folks are leaving. Akash, I do have to jump off to start a meeting at 11, but I'm wondering if
Yes.
there's anything that we can do to
Any
close.
closing remarks? Just anybody who I know, I wanted to make sure and interrupt because I was looking at the time. We have 3 minutes. Anybody want to just close us out and thank Dustin for his time? And then, of course, we're going to take a picture together. So if you want to turn your cameras on, maybe we can just take a quick picture and say bid adieu to Dustin.
Absolutely.
Gonzalo, Renita, Lena, Shreya, if you could maybe turn your camera on.
Akash, please send it my way.
Yes, I will. I think our folks will maybe tag you in our Instagram stories or wherever it may be. All right, let's go. Gonzalo, are you here? Gonzalo, Renita. Well, if not, we'll just take a picture. Ready? Okay. Okay, there you go. Renita's here. Gonzalo. Oh, we're missing Gonzalo. Well, we'll go ahead and take it. 3, 2, and all right, terrific. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dustin, for your time. And we wish you the very best. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And I'll touch base with you again. Is it okay if I share your email with them?
Absolutely. Share my email. Everything is totally open.
All right, perfect.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. I'm sure you'll hear from us.
Yeah, I'm so excited to collaborate. Talk to you folks soon. Thanks so much.
Yeah. All right, for those of us who are in the room, I'm going to put you in groups. You're welcome to stay in your groups for the rest of our class.
Voiceover.
Or you're welcome
Room
to,
meeting.
I hope you can touch base with your group for at least a little bit. Maybe not the whole hour, but at least a little bit and follow up on what you're supposed to be working on. Okay. So yes, Mrs. Xavier,
Yes.
you have an announcement?
Yeah, no, can you tell everybody how the project should be like for the final?
Yes,
think-
yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. Our final, like the presentation, will be in December.
Yes.
So I think it's the last date that we have, or I think it's to be determined. We haven't picked a date. So that will also be your graduation. So you will be most likely virtually honored, and whatever your, the legislative citations and your certificates and things of that nature, we will mail them to you because, of course, I don't think we're going to be able to meet in person. But that day, we hope that you guys can come together with a presentation. It doesn't have to be a PowerPoint presentation. It could be any creative you want it to be. And you're just talking about the project that you and your team came up with. Some people are already executing that project, like Marty and Hilda and, Melody. They're already implementing their project in the community. Some may just be in the process of framing it, and you do not have to execute the project before presenting it. If you have,
Professor Gonzalo Diaz.
But if you have not, that's great too. So I will go ahead. Any other questions, Ms. Xavier, or anybody else has questions? Yes, Alina?
What if you're doing your project individually? Would you like us to stay on, or how do you want
Yeah,
to?
you can do your project individually. You just are going to have to present that project to the rest of the team.
No, I meant like today. Like, do you want us to go in a breakout room?
No, you don't. I don't know. Amy, what do you think? Amy, Hilda, like if she's working individually, you know what? Like we don't have to be in this group. You all are adults. Like I don't have to keep you in the Zoom room. You can be on your platforms. Like let's say you guys are on, if you want to be in a group, let me know in the chat so I can put you in a group.
I think for the Oklahoma group, yes, can you add us in the group?
So that's Hilda, Marty, and Melody, right? Because
and Jerry.
Andrew today. And Jerry's going to be in your group. So we're missing Andrew today. But in terms of the others, like Shreya, what group are you in with Jima and John?
Yeah, I think I was also Otto, but I'm not sure if he's here today.
Otto has medical emergency.
Oh.
I don't know what he broke. He broke something. He just, I saw it on his story too. It's just horrifying. But I hope he conveyed that to you guys, or you can follow up with him on your channels. And I think John, we're missing him. We're missing Andrew. So we're missing two or three people who couldn't make it today. So
I'm working with Alina, so you can put us together in a group.
Okay, I can do that. And I think you have
guiding.
Let me just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, but you can do that and
assign.
Yeah.
So let's say assign in room 1.
So bye everyone.
Bye. Adios.
Thank you all for coming.
Alina,
Thank you.
Alina, I can work with you in a group.
assigned to Hilda, Marty.
And
Renita's not in your group. Is Renita in your group? Or she's by herself?
I'm not sure which group she is.
Renita, what group are you
We
in?
had Dora.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. I'm with Edith,
Okay, Edith. Okay, yes, I remember. You're with Edith. Okay.
and I needed to speak with Amy after, so I don't know how to arrange that.
We should go into our group real quick.
And Amy, I think you are a co-host, so you can hop on and off.
Okay.
Okay.
We had Dora also.
Yeah, Dora is not here today. And
Okay.
I think she was not here last time either, so I'm not sure if she's going to be able to make it. So Edith and Renita, I put you in a group. And then I'm going to add the last people, which is John, Jima, Shreya. And I need to assign Jerry to room 5 is going to be Wilson. Wilson's partner, Gonzalo, is not here. Wilson, si usted puede hablar con Gonzalo por WhatsApp.
Sí.
Gonzalo tenía que salir, entonces ustedes dos pueden hablar por WhatsApp. ¿Le parece?
Sí, muy bien. Muy bien, Akash.
Where is Jerry? I just need to assign one person.
No puedo assign groups.
All right, delete group 6.
Only you.
And what? You cannot?
Mm-mm.
All right, let me just go ahead and open the group up.
Great breakout rooms. System dialog. Room 4. Later button. Join breakout room. Default.
Just put the 3 of us in the one group together.
Okay, I'll do that. Actually, Amy, I'm gonna move you into the room with Edith, and
okay, good.
Then you can hop back on. Okay. Yes, Jima.
Ya, con relación a nuestro grupo, hacen falta como 3, creo. Yo le mandé la información a Otto. En ese caso, ¿cómo hacemos? Yo hago con John.
John, you're in John.
Like, yo estoy con John, pero toda la información que yo mandé se la mandé a Otto. En este caso, nada más tengo que discutir algo con John, ¿no?
Sí, solo discutir un poco y después pueden salir. No se preocupen.
Okay.
Hablar por WhatsApp, okay?
Okay.
So Jerry, I'm going to put you in group 2. You should be assigned Jerry. And Wilson, usted puede salir y hablar con Gonzalo por WhatsApp.
Sí, muy bien. Gracias, Akash. Muy bien.
No hay problema.
Gracias.
Hablamos más tarde.
Okay.
Amy,
Okay.
I'm going to put you with Renita. Room 3. Let me change you as a host so you can hop on and off. Okay?
Okay.
Can you hear me, Edith?
Yeah, she can hear you.
Okay.
Edith, it's a beautiful day in Uganda. It looks like, wow, a beautiful, bright day in Uganda. Oh, look at that. How beautiful.
It's only that I'm in a taxi heading home.
Nice.
But I'm listening to whatever she's talking about. Yes, hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm in a taxi right now, but I can hear whatever Renita is trying to talk. So I'll follow up.
Awesome.
Edith, if you prefer, maybe I can even call you back at a later time. Is
You
that
can talk to Edith on WhatsApp, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's fine, I can follow up.
Edith, where are you right now?
Uganda.
And
What time is it? Must be evening, obviously.
Yeah, 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, I think.
Wow. Wow. So Renita, what do you need? How can I help you?
Yes. Sorry, I drafted a long email to you and then I realized it never got because I could not find it again. So I don't know what happened in the process of sending it to you. So anyway, so we are here today and yes, wanted to know what my next step would be. How do I actually implement it? So I am actually doing a recording like you suggested